This episode is brought to you by Sax.com. At Sax.com, it's easy to find your new vibe. Dive into the Western trend with gold cowboy boots from Stott, or go full 90s throwback with platforms from Prada. You can shop for everything on your agenda, whether it's a breezy Zimmermann dress for a garden party or a bright Chloe blazer for brunch. Find inspiration for your new vibe every day at Sax.com.
Today on CityCast Madison. Online dating is a minefield, and yet every day people take the risk. One Madison writer in her 60s took a chance and went on an online date. And what happened to her there was the basis of a recent Madison magazine article that drew over 6 million views. Clearly, there's something here more to talk about. We sat down with the writer and best-selling author Anne Garvin to ask about her viral experience and ageism in the dating world and beyond. It's Tuesday, May 7th. I'm Bianca Martin, and here's what Madison's talking about. Anne, hello.
Hi, Bianca. It's so nice to meet you.
It is so nice to meet you. I love talking to intelligent, clever people, and I read your article and I'm electrified, and there's so much to talk about. So you wrote an essay for Madison magazine that, there's no other way to say it, but it hit a nerve.
Didn't it?
Yeah. What was that like?
Well, usually, honestly, I'm not bragging, but I usually get a good solid 3 likes with things that I post on X. So I was at that Irma Bombeck conference, and in the morning I had the essay and they had just published it on Madison magazine. And I thought, you should just do your due diligence, post it as a thread, go on with your life, come back later and see your 3 likes. And I had just got done teaching and I didn't have to do something. So I thought I would just take a little nap. And I look at it and I'm like, I have 250 likes. And then I was like, oh no, that's 250,000. I was just wait,
God.
What? And then it was like watching a slot machine. And I'd never seen anything. I kept thinking, this is wrong. What's happening? My God. And then I couldn't nap then because then I was like, I'm going to get carpal tunnel just refreshing the numbers, constantly
Yes.
What? And then I texted my daughter who lives in London and I was like, Megan, I'm just casually going viral over here. And she goes, Mom, I've had a long day. I'm just going to need a little quiet time. I'll call you tomorrow. I was like,
but she missed the moment, kind of.
She just was like, whatever, Mom. And then my other daughter, I texted her and I was like, hi, I'm going viral. And she went, slay.
Slay,
I'm
Mom.
I need to go find some people that are more excited. So I went downstairs and then I was like, I felt like a kindergartner. I'm like, look at me, look.
Right.
And then, so by dinner time, it was at 1 million. And then by the time I went to bed, it was at 3 million. And then when I woke up, it just kept going. It was so fascinating to see that. And the other thing that was really fascinating about it is that the people that were commenting were nice.
That's big.
Yeah. They were mostly nice. There were a couple of funny trolls that were very upset. And the other funny thing is everybody was like, you'll find your love. Don't worry. So pep talk. It's not about that. It's about aging. And that was very funny because I was like, okay, it's nice to have all those people pep talking you. I've never seen anything like it.
It's incredible. The writing is on point. Is I shouldn't even compare you to Hemingway because you're better than that. But it was just the economy of words. It's so well written. And the message, I definitely got that. I was like, wow, a man put his foot in his mouth on a date that you had. And you wrote about it so beautifully. Can you give us a taste of what you wrote?
Yeah. So, I joke that whenever my best friend is out of town and can't talk me off the ledge and I watch a rom-com, I download a dating app again. I just constantly, and she's always like, I just left for a day. I left you on your own for a day. And
it was a century.
Yeah. It's pull yourself together. So I went on, I could talk for a day and a half on dating app experiences like everyone can, but I made a time to meet up with him. And honestly, within a few seconds, I always ask, so how is online dating been for you? Because what I find is that people will tell you the truth. Like they don't know enough to censor themselves. They forget to read the room and realize who's asking this. They think we're buddies, which is partly the look on my face anyway. Cause like I have this very like cheerful Wisconsin look on my face and they're like, she's my friend.
Yeah. Always the most powerful type of person, by the way. Like you said, like no fool here.
Exactly. So I said to him, how's dating been for you? And he was like, well, to be honest, I'm fit and healthy and I have a lucrative job. I really thought I'd be dating a lot of younger women. And I remember being like, oh my God. Okay, this date is over, right? Like, of course. Right. So many reasons that said so much to me. But also, like I was a professor for years and sometimes I have to like not teach and just leave people to their misery and not say, so let me tell you why that's not the right thing to say. And then I just talked a lot about, what that felt like and then what aging is like in our culture. And that what he didn't realize was that aging was coming for him because he uploaded old pictures. And also he wanted to date younger people. So everything that he was saying was against his age as well as my own. And that how this translates into and bleeds into every other thing in our lives that's associated with age, right down to my 28-year-old daughter who has this incredible skincare regime. And it's not for acne. It's so that she never looks wrinkled, right? And even if you were to ask her, she'd be like, well, it's good for my face. And that's all true. I mean, certainly that's what marketing has told us.
Right. The billions of dollars of fancy eye cream to keep us from the inevitable, you know, this deep fear that is just permeating everywhere.
God forbid you live long, and God forbid you look like you've lived long. And then the other piece of that, I think, and the piece that I just find so interesting is that while I look older, I am so much more interesting. I'm much more in the world. I know so much more. I have so much. I hate to use the word wisdom because it's just like another bullshit thing that we give to elderly to make everybody feel better. Oh, there's so much wisdom. But like we just have so many things that we've learned and grown and understood and spent time with that the thought that anyone would prefer someone younger says a lot about, unfortunately, what we think about men, and not all men, but men who, don't want to be threatened by someone or, whatever, all those things. But those are all terrible stereotypes for men as well. Like nobody wins. And so I think that when people were reading that, the nerve it hit was, yes. And like to the younger people, my God, I don't want to grow old if that's what growing old is. And the people that were my age are like, I don't feel like I'm old and this sucks. And I think the other thing that I would say almost across the board, and I know I'm just like popping all over the place, but like I just live my life. I don't think you're 62. I just kind of walk around living my life. And if somebody stopped me on the street and said, how old are you? I'd literally have to think about it. Like I'd be like, well, I feel 28. I have the maturity of a 14-year-old boy and, like sense of humor. So that means like nobody thinks they're that age. And so because nobody thinks they're that age, because we think we've been born into and taught that age sucks, that we are trying to distance ourselves from that. So when I say I feel 28, that's like a really shitty thing to say to the 62-year-old version of myself.
Well, it's also loaded, right? Like this is this beautiful thing that you're saying that you feel vibrant, and it's just like, but why is vibrancy only for the 28-year-old? It's clearly not because, it's where you are. Right. And it's a trap. You're trapped no matter what part of the spectrum you're on.
Yeah. It's fascinating that we are still using the term anti-aging, and soon we'll have a euphemism for it that means anti-aging. And because we won't be able to say it anymore because people will get smart about it. But the truth is, they're going to find a new word for it and it's going to be the same thing.
This episode is brought to you by Sax.com. At Sax.com, it's easy to find your new vibe. Dive into the Western trend with gold cowboy boots from Stott, or go full 90s throwback with platforms from Prada. You can shop for everything on your agenda, whether it's a breezy Zimmermann dress for a garden party or a bright Chloe blazer for brunch. Find inspiration for your new vibe every day at Sax.com.
Your brain needs support, and new Ollie Brainy Chews are a delightful way to take care of your cognitive health. Made with scientifically backed ingredients like Thai ginger, L-theanine, and caffeine, Brainy Chews support healthy brain function and help you find your focus, stay chill, or get energized. Be kind to your mind and get these nootropic chews at ollie.com. That's OLLY.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
One thing that I just love so much about what you said, and I hope that there's a movement towards this, is looking at age as friggin' beautiful, and beautiful in this in the exact sense of, man, this person is so interesting.
Right.
Looking at it in the fullness of what you've been able to experience and bring. It is just ridiculous. This this man saying, "Oh, I wish I was dating younger women." It's just you should be so lucky. and the end of your article, which everyone listening, you got to read it. It's just so, so good. The end of your article, I guess I don't want to spoil it, but I'm going to anyway. At least not spoil it, but I like the quote. And then I pushed my chair back and said, quote, "I don't think you want to waste any more of your time here. You're not getting any younger." And you're like, ha, I wish I had said that, thinking, you want to have that clever retort to the ridiculous, thing that was sent your way. But he should be so lucky, and it's not a platitude. It's like a genuine thing. And so how do we change the language and the sort of disrespect? The degree of disrespect is kind of frightening.
Well, it is. And I think in some ways he was probably actually was thinking, not you, you're a peer of mine and I'm going to say that and you'll get it. Probably that's where it was coming from because, he didn't look at me and go, "You're old and stupid. I'm going to say this." I think even worse, he didn't recognize who he was talking to and understanding. Yeah, I think the other thing too is that maybe if he were to really think about what he was saying, he might say, "I was hoping that," and not looking at me either. I'm not faulting him on this, but I wish I was dating more beautiful people. And the reason I say that is that when you take a look at what we call beauty at any age, and they put them in magazines and they put them all over the place, it's because they look younger. They don't look what we think is their age. So until we start looking at people and calling them beautiful for having skin laxity and wrinkles and the worst name ever, like jowls, is, until we start looking at that and going, that's kind of beautiful, we're going to just always have problems. I was at a retreat with Polina Porzakov, the model from the 90s, one of the supermodels, and she was on Sports Illustrated. She married Rick Ocasek. And I told the group when I was speaking that I was going to spend the entire time keeping people between me and Paulina because I didn't want to stand next to her because I would look like a short, hairy thumb compared to her.
You're literary genius.
Yeah. So of course, Paulina was like, "I need to sit next to you at dinner." But the thing that was so fascinating about her and what I loved about her is that she'd spent her whole life sort of aging. I wouldn't say she's aging out of modeling per se, because she's doing a lot of modeling and she's incredible, but she's incredibly good looking in the way that we consider classically good looking, but also because she's maintained that through her age. So she looks like an older version of a gorgeous woman that we see on magazines all the time. And she knows it and she talks about it. She talks about it all the time on her Instagram account, where she is constantly saying things like, when she's not wearing makeup, people are like, you've really let yourself go or whatever. Mean people, obviously. Other people are really shouting out support to her. But even so, the reason that she has that platform is that she's still gorgeous in the traditional sense and always looks younger. So until we start to really herald and it's all the way through, right? Like
plus size models, they'll choose. It's like, okay, we're going to do this, but it's like someone that looks just as close as possible to what they're already doing, basically.
Yeah. They're beautiful already in the classic sense of beauty. And everywhere you look, like we're so inundated with it. Every cosmetic thing is, you're not enough. You got to have this because your lips aren't pink enough. You're not this, not this. So there's no reason for us not to be absolutely inundated with it.
Do you think that's, why it struck a chord with so many people? Like at least 6 million people read your article. Is it the ageism and sexism? It's also being talked about on the national scale with national politics right now. Age is actually at the center.
And that's really interesting, isn't it? Because it's the low-hanging fruit of insults, right? It's the easiest one that we can still point to. It's one of the isms that is still really okay to take a shot at. They're old. They're so old. Look at him up there. He pauses or he stutters or he can't remember a name or whatever. And not being able to bring up a word finding, which is often something that is associated with aging. Like, give me a break. I had word finding problems back in the day.
I am that way.
Right?
I've had it in this conversation.
Right. And then there's this other piece of it that if they're showing anything that looks like, college level athletes are walking around because they've torn their meniscus and they can barely move. Like, people that have been gymnasts for years are crippled at 30. So this idea that it's not just being infirm or whatever, it's because lots of people have trouble. It's being older and then having some of that we say, see, and we don't look at their accomplishments on anybody's side.
I want to point out, you've written 5 books and have another one coming out this fall. And, I want to share a quote, as you put it. You write about, quote, women who do too much in a world that asks too much from them, whatever the age. I mean, we've given a million reasons why that's your focus. Why do you hold on to that focus as a writer?
I always say when I'm teaching writing anywhere, I ask people when they're working on a book, especially new writers, because I teach at the Drexel MFA and I've taught at several other MFAs. One of the things that I try to get people to understand is, what are you writing about? And so whatever it is that you're writing about, you think you're writing about a camp in northern Wisconsin, or I think I'm writing about a woman who becomes a costumer that doesn't know how to sew. I think that's what I'm writing about, but I'm not writing about that. That's the premise. That's the plot. But really what I'm writing about is something else. And so whenever I ask my students, I really want you to dig deep and think about, what are you writing about? What are the themes that you're most interested in? And the way to do that is to take a look at the books or the movies that you're most interested in and ask yourself why this fascinates you so much. And usually what it's associated with is a core wound that you're trying to work out, right? So Joan Didion said, I write to figure out what I think. And that's what I try to encourage people to write about. And so what I write about often is the idea that, am I enough? And the biggest thing I write about is how much to keep and how much to give in all relationships.
I was just crumbled to the floor.
No, right? I know how much to keep for myself, how much to give to the world, to a relationship, to my dog, to whatever. How much am I allowed to ask for? How much am I allowed to do? And how much do I have to do for the world and give to the world, right? And we have this whole cultural voice right now saying, you're enough and you should give yourself all the good things and make sure that you prioritize yourself. And I think, okay, but we're also saying, make sure that you recycle. And we really need to talk about Israel and Palestine. And we have to make sure that global warming doesn't kill us all. So we are really in this place of not actually understanding humanity and what makes us human. And so for me, I'm constantly in that place of going like, how much to keep, how much to give. And so for me, that idea of writing about women in a world that asks too much of women, I think everybody probably needs to deal with how much to give and how much to keep, but nobody in the world has it like women do. And of all diverse women, all women have to live their life backwards and on high heels. Whether anyone wants to talk about it that way or not, it's the truth. We are getting better, but a lot of that is lip service. It's very difficult to be a woman and work your way up and try being a funny woman. You can just fucking forget it.
Yeah. But the humor is like what's keeping me going. Because it's like, wow, y'all are on some stuff. And I'm just going to laugh about it and keep moving.
It's the only way to do it, right? In my mind, it's the only way to do it.
Yeah.
And it's all funny. It's like all super funny.
There's so much material. My last question, the beginning of your article, you mentioned Love Actually, and how many times you've watched it, which I adore. And it brought in for me like the little magical snow and, all of the stars, twinklies, what have you. Will you try online dating again?
Well, the news and the secret is that I have a partner now.
Hey!
And I am writing a companion essay about that. Yeah, like when Maggie commissioned me to write it, I was solidly single. But the time it took for it to come out, I was just sort of reigniting a friendship that I'd had for many, many years and kind of looking to see if maybe that was going to be something more. And this is probably the first time that I've had a relationship that I am fully engaged and committed to. Like, it's a really wonderful thing. So yeah, I'm hoping that I never have to do a dating app again.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, thank goodness. Because,
it's served.
You can only just take so much.
Yeah.
Abuse.
Well, truly, truly. And you know what? I cannot wait to read the follow-up. Thank you for coming on CityCast Madison to share about, this viral success and talk about really some important things that our folks should probably be paying attention to in our communities and our society.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. I'm so appreciative of you taking the time out to chat with me about this. I think that's what we need, right? More chat about this.
That's Anne Garvin, writer and best-selling author of 5 books. If you want to read Anne's viral piece, head to our show notes for a link. That's all for today here on CityCast Madison. I'm Bianca Martin. If you enjoyed the show, why not share this episode with someone you know with a great dating story? I know a few. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more stories from around the city. Until then, take very good care.